Okay, everybody, all my girl dads out there, you guys got to know I just ain't about basketball. I have to bring in some knowledge around here to teach us about what's going on in this stuff. So I brought my attorney and friend in here from Young Law, Nate. Man, how's it going? I want to bring you on to make sure that all my girl dads, let me adjust my mic, that all the girl dads out there, you guys got to be watching our stuff, man, because we're coming on with some heavy hitters, man. So I brought my guy on here to talk some NIL. Nate, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here.
Good stuff. Well, tell me, man, I know you're busy. I don't have to drop your resume. People probably, we're in a microwave society. They just want to get right to it. So let's get right to it, man.
Happy to help. Yeah.
What do you think about? What do you think about this NLI collective, man? Let's get into some details of your thought as an attorney.
Yeah, collectives are interesting. They're also changing a lot. I mean, in the past, they were kind of this traditional, just booster-led group that was separate from the university. And now what you're starting to see a lot of is something called an affiliated collective. So basically, it's still a separate group, but they kind of co-manage and co-brand with the university. The university helps them with compliance and making sure that, everything is still above board. And especially for the ones that are trying to remain nonprofits and keep that that 501c3 tax status, they kind of collaborate with the school a lot more. And it's becoming very popular. I mean, I know at my alma mater, UT, we have the Texas One Fund, and it's pretty successful. And I think that's kind of the future of collectives. It's not going to be kind of this separate deal as much as it's going to be much more in the forefront of the operations of a university because they're going to exert a little more control.
Yeah, no, I get that part, man. I get that part. So from that standpoint, how do you think it benefits the parents to know most of these things? As a parent, do I need to know this? And should I have my own separate attorney that I work with as opposed to appointed attorney by the university or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think especially with Texas in particular, because we just had, I think it was June of 2025, the law changed here where 17-year-olds can sign NIL deals before they go into college, but the conditions are that you got to graduate and enroll. I mean, think about giving, these large amounts of money to young people and not giving them the professional support and literacy skills, whether it's financial literacy, legal literacy, to let them maximize the opportunity of taking advantage of that brand, especially while it's at its peak. I think it's a great idea to have legal counsel to be separate from the school, just so that you have your interests protected primarily instead of secondhand to the school or the organization that is offering you those contracts.
Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to make sure that my girl dads and all our followers understand, that you might want to invest in your own attorney and make sure so that you'll have the knowledge to go through this thing. So what's your take on the $2.8 billion lawsuit that they lost, and now they're going to have to disperse money out? What's your feeling on that, Nate?
It's a big deal. It's a settlement, as I understand it, that covers the athletes from 2016 to 2024 and gives them, I guess, retroactive payments for that time. And then going forward, the Power 5 schools have a budget of roughly $20.5 million. I think the rough allocation is 75% of it goes to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and then 5% to the remaining sports. I mean, it's a game changer, right? Because it allows for you to be paid directly from the school. And that now becomes part of the recruiting pitch, because now it's like, hey, you're picking between schools A and B. And if they're both in the Power 5 and subject to these allocations, it becomes a marker of what they think of the athlete or the player and their potential. And also sometimes can even be a differentiator between how long they stay at the school, whether or not they want to go pro early or whether they really like the college experience, want to complete their eligibility. So it's just a new factor in the recruiting process that's going to be a big deal for all sports. But, you can see there's a heavy bent towards football, but still 5% of $20.5 million is not a small number.
Well, yeah, and it's not a small number, but unless you're the one who have to be under that budget. I talked to a lot of coaches on the women's side. You're looking at what 5% of that. All of them may not get that. So we're looking. Say my budget is that's high for some schools.
Sure.
The smaller schools probably won't have a budget. I would think of what 500.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to definitely create a different. There's going to definitely become like a class system within the schools where the ones that devote time to for example women's basketball, and they say, look, we're gonna try to get the most out of that 5% and get top players, and then just kind of have it be, those that fill that amount, and then those that don't have the full budget, they just kind of go and scout differently.
Yeah, from the basketball side, I'm going to be a little more clear for you girl dads out there. Basically, the budget, if you're looking at a $500,000 budget on a smaller school, and then you got another school who's got a $1 million budget or 1.2 that's got to be divided by 12 players, you're not going to pay certain players like this stuff that's been going on at 25, $300K. That takes a lot of your budget right there to have to fulfill those other roster spots. So it's very judicious. You're going to have to be very judicious with your money going forward. So a lot of you girl dads think you're in 2026 that you're going to be getting all this money. Coach, athletic directors, GMs are going to be a lot more efficient at spending that money.
Well, that's also just tied to the payments through the schools. If they're really good about leveraging their brand and social media, they can.
That's
I mean,
where
at least in Texas, you can earn unlimited NIL dollars while you're in school.
I was going to comment on that. Yeah, they're going to have to get it from the NIL. That's where, in fact, Nate, why don't you give them the difference between the two? Because that's where you're going to have to get, maybe if that school has a really, really big time NIL stuff going on, they'll be able to pick up the difference from there, as opposed to having to pay all of the collective out.
So high level, NIL is just kind of the shorthand for, endorsement deals that are taking advantage of your name, image, and your likeness. So if you have a really robust social media footprint and your NIL is valuable, you can go through, whatever channels that the university provides to get in touch with brands and market yourself and do brand deals that will bring in money independently from anything that the school is going to pay you, and also separately from anything that any of these affiliated collectives can pay you. So the spread of how you can earn money while you're a student athlete is pretty high. It's just not going to be singularly tethered to, some of this amount that's going to be from the revenue sharing from the settlement and the rules that it has.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to that NLI Go monitoring. They're supposed to govern that stuff, that you have to determine what's the value of what your deal is. What's your take on that? Because when I hear that, it's almost like they're just a friend of mine said that they can't tell you what to do with your money. This company could come in and pay you as much as they want. And I said, no, it's not working like that. They have to and the NIL Go has to determine if that is reasonable for paying you. And we talked about that earlier, $600. Anything above $600 has to go to the NIL Go. It's like through them.
Yeah, it's a new thing, so there's not a whole lot of let's just say guidance on it. But yeah, the rule is anything over $600 has to be run through that commission compliance platform. I believe it's run by Deloitte. And yeah, I mean, look, ultimately there's going to be guardrails on some of this stuff. So, if a deal is way outside of whatever the fair market value is, it's going to raise some red flags. But that ultimately is a good reason why you should consider the brand deals that you do, because, if the brand deal is not one that actually fits your own personal brand and it's just for the money, like in the long run, that actually probably does more harm to your personal brand than it would to help to just generate some extra cash flows. And this is not so much legal advice as much as I always tell the student athletes that I represent, like, make sure that the brand deals that you take are just brands that are true to you and authentic, because part of your success in social media is authenticity and being real with your audience. And so, if everything is all about marketing and branding, you're eventually going to run that thin with your audience, and you're going to probably lose followers and lose interest over time.
Yeah. Well, I think that was interesting in terms of that, in terms of that part of it, the control. I think it's a control thing, and I don't know how well it's going to go either. It seems like we're just jumping out of one frying pan. This is just me and I don't know. There's a lot of smarter people than me jumping out of one frying pan into another in terms of the NIL go. They're still not, if I've got to run my stuff through you guys, it's still some type of control. It's still good though, because it's like, to me, it's okay because there's a guardrail. At least we have some kind of guardrails out there now. Last few years, it's been crazy.
Yeah, and it'll continue to get more of a framework, right? Like early on, it's kind of just been the Wild West, and nobody knows what to do, and it you know, from the university standpoint, they're just wanting to make sure they're in compliance. But from the student athlete standpoint, the bigger risk is anything that affects your eligibility. So as long as you're following the rules as they're provided, you know, you have pretty good safe harbor from something like that. But you definitely don't want to go and start living in that gray area too much, especially if this, whether it's NIL money, collective money, revenue sharing money is really important for you. And, you know, one of the things that Texas has done that I think is a good idea is make sure that all student athletes take financial literacy courses. I think it's a 5-hour financial literacy course because, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but if I was an 18-year-old and I got a pile of money, I'm not sure that I'd know what to do with it that was responsible. And so, you know, some of that education and stuff is really important. And I think in the long run, as this becomes more clear, we'll start to feel a lot more confident and comfortable in how we operate. But for now, it's still kind of in that transitional phase. And this NIL Go product is going to be one that's interesting to watch for.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye on that too. But and then we're not talking about when you and I are talking all these numbers here, girl dads, followers, we're talking 3%. We're talking high-end players that's going to be dealing with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now. But there's some mid-major kids and there's some other kids out here that I think if you play your cards right, you can still do good in terms of maybe you don't go to school just for money. Don't think about the money. I mean, when I was coming up, we just got a scholarship and a cost of living and a meal card to go to the cafeteria and get your food. Now, you know, there's so much to it. But like I said, there's only 3% of kids that's going to be getting that high-end stuff. So the ones that are not getting it, that are not in that high percent, there's going to be some schools budget-wise that probably could help you out because they want to play. If you're good, you could probably go in here and they'll pay for you if you fit their need. This is something this is my side of the field.
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
This is my space. This is my space. But let's say it's a kid that's pretty darn good. Last year, she probably could have gotten the portal and got 150,000, whatever. Next year, those budgets are going to be kind of tight, and you might only get $50,000 or there's going to be people trying to get 25, 50, 30, 10. I've talked to some coaches like, I'm not giving her no, she's not worth it. I'm only going to go 10,000. So you as players and girl dads out there, be careful, do your homework, and just basically get skilled up where you have value. You be a player, and also think about the educational side. Stop thinking about the money. Get your degree. Go to a school. Think about your mental health. Think about family. All this other stuff is important as opposed to just money. Money don't make you happy.
That's a really interesting point, actually. And I was thinking about that as you were talking, that, you know, when you're a student athlete and in this new environment, money is going to be a huge part of your recruitment, obviously, but education and development, that's the stuff that if you keep your money right and you graduate and you've got a skill set now, you can take that money and do something way bigger with it than what you could have otherwise.
Yes,
so
I didn't touch on that. Yes, well for sure. You thinking you don't want to take the short game, take the big game. You take it down later. I'll go if you can get into a Berkeley, a big academic school, and they'll pay you less, but you're going to get a degree for down the line. That's going. If I can get into Princeton, if I can get into Harvard or any high academic school or good mid-major school, if you can get into one of them that has high academic standards, you're investing now, and then later you'll get your money if you're not any UC schools, you know, stuff like that. So everything is becoming so transactional. So be careful, girl dads and followers.
Yeah, that's another really good point. Even in my world, right? I have a couple of student athletes that I've worked with, and it is very transactional. And I always advise kind of two big factors. One is, the relationship that you have with the school, obviously your relationship with your teammates and your staff. And then obviously like all of the other important parts of your recruiting pitch, campus life, location, NIL, profit sharing, et cetera. But, you're going to spend a lot of time with these people. And if it is not a group or a place that you want to be at, no amount of money is going to make you want to stay.
No, money doesn't bring you peace and happiness.
Yeah.
So dads, you guys are hearing that. So don't just think about the money, about that part of it. So that's some interesting stuff there. But on the legal side also, we got to touch bases. And here's another one. And I know you're going to be like, well, Title IX. Title IX.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Title IX. I think that's a can of worms. I've heard a few ladies have already put in a lawsuit about this. And I don't know where it's headed, but it's something right now. It's above I just like to read about it, and it's above my pay grade. And we'll see.
It's above mine too. The reality is,
we'll see how they handle that.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's gonna. Listen, I'm not a fortune teller. I have no idea what's going to come from the appeals on this concerning Title IX. But the fact that the sports have the allocations that they do based not only on maybe I'm sure some of it was calculating how much revenue they generate relative to how much the allocation is for.
Yeah.
But it's going to be problematic that men's basketball and women's basketball are going to be so separate and different in their allocations. And it's an arguable point. Hey, well, women's basketball is still basketball. Why are they getting 5% versus men's basketball that's getting 15% of the revenue share? So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting handling of how they address that from the legal side. And the truth is, I don't know the answer. I don't know which one is going to be the more persuasive argument. Is it going to be that they think that it's a discriminatory way to allocate, or is it, hey, we're looking at something that's completely independent, it's just the revenue and profits and losses, and see where that goes?
I think that's where their head is, obviously, that they think that it's all about money, and the men generate more money. Then why should you get? I mean, that's been a question that's the elephant in the room all the time. Women don't generate the same amount of money in the WNBA as the NBA. So why should you be getting it? So I don't know. I'm pro women. I'm a mama's boy. So I'm women's basketball. Y'all see that? So I love it. And I want women to get equal to an extent. How about that? I do believe they need to get worth what they're worth. And I'm talking WNBA too here. That they should get their worth at what they put in and on the college scene, because women's basketball is in such a great space right now. And I do believe that they should be getting that. But I wanted to touch bases with you because I don't think a lot of people even think about that Title IX stuff. At least not my girl.
And it may change. And it may change if there is an adjustment to that allocation. It's going to change how recruiting happens. So it is really important to think about and keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a change. It's the change that's already happened in terms of the recruiting process. And you see my tag there, right, Nate? My little tag in the corner.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a GM. So anybody need help on the grounds helping out, man? You see Kerry, hire me off as a GM. I'll do some roster reconstruction and I can bring Nate in and do some analytic stuff for me, you guys. So you see me there trying to do it. But yeah, Nate, I was happy to get you on, man. Of course. Is there something we didn't touch bases on that you would think that my girl dads would love to have some information on? I wish I should have had a live chat so they could have asked us questions.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, if anybody that's listening does have questions, I mean, feel free to, give them my info and let them contact me. You can find me on most socials, just my law firm's name. And I'm happy to try to offer some information as best I can. But, as far as the legal part, what I always recommend is get counsel, because everything is on a case-by-case basis, right? Not every school is going to look at every student athlete the same way. And not every student athlete is going to have the same priorities as they're looking and going through the recruiting process. So the first thing I would say is, like, I don't say lawyer up, but definitely have good counsel on your side, because that's going to be the person that'll represent your interests as you get approached by the schools. And make sure that they have some working knowledge of the NIL space. They don't necessarily have to be an NIL lawyer exclusively, because it's just so much of what this does blends with other parts of a legal practice. But make sure that they have some knowledge. The other thing I would say is focus on the totality of the recruitment. Don't just focus on whatever the amount that they offer in terms of dollars, because at the end of the day, where you spend your time is more valuable than what the money is going to be worth. And sometimes it takes an independent voice telling you that, because I can see why the money is appealing. But if you're the kind of person that gets homesick really easy, it may not make sense to take the biggest offer to go, a few hundred or a couple thousand miles away from your home, and your family can't come see you play. Right. So there's a lot of just external factors that, I would say a good attorney that has some experience in this world can offer advice that's not just legal, but also practical. And then also, and anytime a contract comes in front of you, they'll be able to represent you and negotiate that deal for you, get you the best terms, or at least more fair terms, because I can promise you the person offering you that contract for that brand deal is not thinking about your interests. They're thinking about their own.
They're not, huh?
Yeah.
They're not telling you about your interests.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just important to have somebody there that has a knowledge of contracts that can be able to give some of that advice and guidance, and also, change the terms and negotiate on your behalf, and just take that out of your hands. It's not something you need to worry about. You need to worry on being a good student, being a good athlete, and preparing yourself for your future.
Absolutely. You're hitting it right on the button. And I know we got to land this plane right now, and I want to land it on that note right there that Nate just gave you guys a big nugget. You girl dads, if you need to get a hold to him, you can check him on social media. If you need to find something to get a hold to him through me at all of my spots, visit thegirldadpodcast.com. You see me on social media on all of my platforms. I'm just now hitting Spotify. So I'm growing big. Hey, and all you diamonds in the rough, I'll be in Vegas, and then I'm in Chicago, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on you guys too. I know you guys haven't seen me doing that, but keep sending me the player cards. And lastly, girl dads, go get your PSA level check. Prostate cancer is serious. You guys know I've been on a prostate campaign lately. So Nate, thanks a lot, man. And I know
thanks for having me
back with you, and I got to have you back on when something big happens. I got to have you back on.
Would love it, man.
Can we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man.